Hi, this is Phoenix Unleashed, and I am Shipper Henry, your host. I'm once again broadcasting from Starbucks, um, this time because we just moved and Wi Fi has to still be installed. Anyway, I will hold the microphone close to my mouth and hope for the best. And thank you for joining me today. It's a very special day. It is the day of Yud Aleph Nisan, the 11th of the month of Nisan, which is the month of miracles, and the 11th is the birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, my own mentor and the mentor of millions, the central soul of the generation. So, what does it mean to have a birthday, first of all? What's it got to do with freedom, second of all? What's got to do with you, third of all? A birthday, during a birthday, anybody's birthday, including your birthday, that's the time when your soul actually came down into the body. Now, of course, that starts, they say, 40 days after conception, and continues to grow. But when, according to Torah, a person is actually born, is actually entering the world, when they're entering the world as a separate being, when they're no longer in their mother's womb, fed by the mother, etc. So when the head first emerges, that's when a person's born. That's the birthday. What happens on the birthday is a phenomenon that the Torah calls mazalo gover. The mazel of the person is dominant. What is the mazel? The mazel is the spiritual source of the soul, the spiritual source of anything. The mazel is that thing as it exists up above in the higher realms. And normally, what is up there doesn't get all the way down here without blockages. We're flowing through channels between heaven and earth, between source and manifestation, and soul body, God world. It's a fractal. And what happens is that those channels are blocked. Sometimes in certain aspects, we come in with them blocked. The world was created with certain blockages, often through life and through our collective story, our individual story, the blockages get worse. And our job is to see them, to unwind them, to open them out of our free will so that the mazel, the soul, the purpose, the light, the truth can flow down. The goodness can flow down all the way from the source into the manifested reality. So on a person's birthday, there's a special power, and the mazel flows down on its own because, as in every anniversary, every time there's an anniversary I've talked about this before, of a holiday, of an event, whatever it might be on the Torah calendar, on that day, there is a reenactment from a much higher, deeper, and more powerful level of what happened that first time. Same thing with the birthday. The day that you are born, as you hit year one, as you hit year two, as you hit year 30, 40, 50, 60, 120, but whatever that might be, which is considered the natural ultimate lifespan of a person according to Torah for now, happens to be, it happens to be the Rebbe's 120th birthday. So I don't know what that means, but I think that means we're taking off from the natural to the supernatural in even much bigger ways. So every year when the date, the anniversary, the holiday, the event, the birthday rolls around, there is a completely new influx of divine potential and of mazel, of the source of the soul that comes into the body, into the world. And that is there in potential for us to unfold in our thought, consciousness, emotions, actions, and the results that we get, the co-creative process. So on the Rebbe's birthday, because the Rebbe is the central soul in every generation, there is a central soul. I have talked about this before as well. It is such an important foundational piece of reality that most people really don't know. You could call it, a secret, an open secret. So we are not separate. We experience ourselves as separate. That at the core of our souls, we're all a piece of God. We carry a piece of literally of God's essence in the very, very hidden core of our beings. And we are each a piece, a cell, the limb and organ, part of one, within the body of humanity, which isn't just the people who live in our generation, but it's the people all of humanity that live from Adam and Eve until, the end of time, really all one. Where are we connected? At that deepest central level. That is the central level that is held in the body of the one in a generation, tzaddik, holy, righteous person, a Moses level person, in whom is contained a spark of each one of us. And when we activate, and we also hold that spark of the central soul, in our core of our own souls. When we activate it, the central soul is activated, and the central soul has the power to unite all. and to carry out the mission that the generation is here to fulfill. What is the mission that we are here to fulfill? To bring the thing home, to bring the redemption home. So now I want to talk about freedom. First of all, the idea of the 11. It's Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday. It's the central soul. So we're all, think about it, we all have a piece of that soul at the core of our own hearts, hidden, but there, really the core of our being. And we are all part of that central soul. So the mazel that is coming in a whole new way today on the 11th of Nisan, which is the month of miracles, the month of Passover, the month of freedom and liberation. Nisan literally is the word nace. Okay, I'm repeating a few things that I said in previous lives. You need to absorb these things if you want to activate the power, if you want to have access. The power, the light, the reality, the truth, the purpose, the mission, the transmission. So we each contain a piece of that, and we are, our mazel, because of that, our mazel is also dominating for the entire month. It affects the entire month of Nisan, which is the reason why we have this spectacular, extraordinary power for miracles in this month. We need to connect to our deeper purpose. We need to connect to our freedom. Now, 11, the number of 11, I want to say this quickly, and then I'm going to go into specifically about freedom. And I want to read you something very shortly. 11 is a number that represents complete divine union. So 10 is the number that the Creator chose to bring the world into being through. There are 10 divine attributes known as spirot. There are 10 powers of the soul known as kochot. There's everything in the world, is, I think I've heard that China's not base 10. I don't know what that looks like, but numbers are in, we most humans operate in 1 through 10. And that is not by accident. That's because it's a divine template. It was God's choice. What is 11? So when you only have 10, what is 11? So 11 is the oneness that is underneath the foundation of the core of the heart of every one of the numbers from 1 to 10. 11 is called Antu Chad Shalom Bechushban, that it's the number 1 that can't be counted. What does that mean? So we have the letter 1, we have the number 1, Echad in Hebrew, which is like 1, 2, 3, Echad, Shtayim, Shalosh, 1, 2, 3, we're counting. We have oneness, which means we can take all these things that we can count in the millions, trillions, the people, billions of people and trillions of cells and however many incomprehensible number of thoughts, what about from all the people, whatever it is, moments in time. All of these things are meant to come back into oneness, to reveal their intrinsic underlying oneness and to come back into the superstructure of the one, while remaining alive, while remaining in reality, to be a channel for oneness. But that's the oneness of Echad. 1, 2, 3, all are coming together, like the pieces of the puzzle getting put together, and now you have a bigger picture. You can see that everything was a piece of it. That's a very, very, very important step. But higher than that, once that happens, what has to happen afterwards is that 11 gets revealed. 11 is that number. Again, this is the 11th of Nisan. 11 is that number that can't even be counted. It's that level of divinity, that level of reality that never was subdivided, that could not be subdivided. It is the oneness that never left, the oneness that can't even be put in the framework of counting, because it's not divisible. It's just essence. It's just the ultimate isness. That's what we're talking about here. That's what's revealed on the 11th of Nisan. And that happens to be the birthday of the central soul. And it happens to be today. And it happens to be in the month of liberation and freedom. So you want to connect to this energy, because as the wheel of time rolls on and repeats in the cycles, now we're looking at the cycle of the year. So every year on the 11th of Nisan, a new potential that never existed before for us to activate the inner core of our own souls and to connect, specifically through connecting to the central soul of whom we are all a part. We're all one super organism, so alive. And when we connect to that level through 11, we start to draw it down into our consciousness, into our emotions, into our bodies, into the world, and then it distributes itself in every day of the coming year. And we want to use the supernatural power that we want to use. Now I want to talk about freedom, and I want to read you something. I hope it's not too noisy. So I have to put on glasses for this. So I might have mentioned here before that I have a practice of connecting. I call it a prayer practice, but it's not the typical prayer. It's more like I express myself in the deepest, most authentic possible way. Sometimes I do it in writing. Usually I do it in writing. I find that very helpful. And then I listen to see what I'm being told, to see what needs to come out, to see what questions, what answers are coming for questions. So a few days ago, I received this, and I want to read it to you. I shared it in the live event that I did on Thursday, but I know not everybody was there. And anyway, I keep reading it again. I think it's worth reading again and again, hearing again and again. So we live in a world, I'm not reading yet, but we live in a world of storm and fury. There is so much being thrown at us. There's so much happening. This morning I woke up and I thought, there's so much more happening in a short time than I can even deal with. It's just too much to sort out. It's too much to process. We do have periods, thank God, where we do have a little bit more downtime and we can process. We need to be fast, though, because it's just accelerating. Everything is accelerating. Time is accelerating. We'll talk about that another time, but it actually is. Like when you get to the end of the toilet paper roll or you get to the end of the tape, it starts to spin faster and faster. All of creation is spinning faster and faster through all the worlds. So literally, there's less time in every moment. Like you might see 1 second on the clock, but it's not as long as it was last year, not even nearly. And it's going faster and faster. So that means that more events are happening in a shorter period of time, more information, more emotions, more agendas, more revelation, more oppression, more everything. And I think most of us are experiencing that. Like, what the heck is going on around here? It's not just global. It's not just national. People are experiencing things personally, all kinds of things. And in a certain way, that is designed to create overwhelm. That is designed to spin us out of the fixed way of thinking that we function with. We imagine our ego-based identity is so stuck to stability, and it chooses to imagine our world, to perceive the world as something that is reliable, fixed. Whatever was there yesterday will be there tomorrow. I know where my place is. I know where it's not. I know what to expect. That is being spun out of existence. So why? And it's very, very easy to cling to that. It's very, very easy to cling to the way that it always was, to resist. It's natural. It's sometimes inevitable to have feelings about it, to be triggered because of it. Again, I apologize for the sound. It's just I had no choice with the Wi-Fi today. So that is all natural. But then what do you do with that? And I'm here to tell you that all of the intense acceleration is here to catalyze freedom. And now is the time. This is the month. This is the era. Today is the day. And now is the moment. So what is the point? What happens when we spin out from this repetitious kind of illusion of stability and predictability? What is emerging instead? What was hidden underneath that? So here's one of the things that the Torah says, the Kabbalah says, that all of the laws of nature, the so-called laws of nature on every level, are literally miraculous. They're literally being brought into being from infinite divine desire and infinite divine creative potential, which is called ayin, nothingness. No preceding cause other than God's desire. The laws of nature, gravity, life and death, the cycles of the universe, the cosmos, the seasons, everything is being brought into being as if it's running on its own. It is the cycles of nature and life that are the grand illusion, like the covering, like the template, like the concealment or the curtain that hides the fact that there's nothing here but God. And you. God and you. And who are you? So as we get uprooted from our dependency on the cycles, on the predictability that is all across the universe, the orders of the planetary bodies, the heavenly bodies, all of it is cycles. In fact, the interface between spiritual and physical is the angels that control the cycles. They're the cycle angels. They're called Ophanim. So when we believe in the cycles, and this is also parenthetically why the Torah says that those are a part of the Torah mission, including the Jewish people, are not supposed to, you can use that, it's not supposed to depend on astrology. You're not supposed to predict the future. It's not that astrology isn't an art and science. Pharaoh's sorcerers predicted a lot of things through astrology, but we're not controlled by it. Astrology and the predicting of the future and fate exists underneath the cycle angels. It's being brought into being by the cycle angels, that they run this whole cycle mechanism that exists in so many places. or even the cycle of the blood as it goes through your body. Everything is in cycles, and those cycles give us the illusion that there is a natural process that runs in opposition or to or separate from God, that runs naturally. And that is the opposite of the truth. There's nothing here but God, and everything is being brought into being, including the cycles on every level, at every instant, now, and now, by divine design, divine desire, divine will, divine purpose. So when we can look at those predictable cycles in our lives and they start to spin out, and we're like, what the heck is happening here? And that is definitely happening. So we need to understand. If we want mastery, if we want freedom, we need to understand that it is simply the spinning off of that shell that's created by these so-called laws of nature, which are not laws at all. They're all miraculous. They're all divine, and they're all created and uncreated constantly. And what is emerging underneath as those spin off, what is revealing as the shell cracks and a new life is emerging, it is the freedom of the soul in the body. It is the power to actually create miracles that comes to you by virtue of your oneness with your source, by your living your purpose, by your connecting, by your transmuting those traumas that hide your light, that hide your true consciousness, that keep you out of choice. So when I was praying in my way about the event that I did on Thursday, I wanted to know what to tell people. I don't like to repeat. I mean, some things you have to repeat. You have to repeat like time-proven principles over and over and over again. You have to repeat the parts of Torah that you learn. You must, because they contain infinite wisdom, and our brains are not able to hold infinite wisdom. So we have to embed it. We have to absorb it one step at a time, or one leap at a time, and that as we go forward, that opens the mind, and the mind can then absorb more of the wisdom and the light and the divine transmission that's contained there. So we do need to review, but I don't like to repeat programs. I don't like to repeat processes like in a way that's not connected and alive, because not only because I like being connected and alive, which I do, but because everything is moving forward. We are not static. We are not repeating the past. We are not going to be able to just get mastery and then put it on our wall like a diploma and then go about our predictable way. That is not what's happening here, any more than when the baby is going through the birth canal. It is not getting to a point where it's going to stagnate, where it's going to, we're not plants. We are not plants. We are people. Actually, everything that is alive, aliveness means, by definition, in terms of Kabbalah, that you are both manifested as something separate and you are unmanifesting simultaneously, merging back with your source. So aliveness has to have those two qualities at the same time: existence and non-existence, existence and non-existence, separateness, connection. And I'm describing it as a cycle, and it is, but it's actually simultaneous. And without that, we wouldn't be alive. If we were cut off for one instant from our source, we would not be alive. We wouldn't be here even. But if we were disconnected from our source, we'd have no life force either. You know, that is our source. If we were disconnected from ourselves and we only went back into source, we would merge and we would cease to exist. So both of those things, that point of that paradox, that interface that is so precise and so divine, it is the core of who each of us are. Each of us is. We are not separate and we are not merged. We are a unique, miraculous blend of the two, of divine and personal, personal and divine. And we're meant to walk back the concealment as things spin out to reveal what's underneath. So now I want to read you what I got when I asked what to tell people today. I'll read it to you word for word. You will tell them about us. Us meaning you and God. It's the relationship. I'm telling you about the relationship. There's you and there's God. Whatever that means to you, whatever that actually is. You will tell them that they're here to reveal, not to conceal, not to fight against, not to struggle or hide. So you're here to reveal the deeper parts of you, that deeper intrinsic love, all of those truths, all of those miraculous potentials, all of that divinity, both inside and outside of you, that has been until now too big for your vessels. What are your vessels? Your consciousness, your heart, your body, your actions, your thoughts, speech, and action, basically. And the things that have come out as a result of those. Your world. So your world is not big enough for your light. But that doesn't mean that your light is not meant to shine. That means that I'm explaining, not reading. Your light is meant to shine through a combination of two things: those things that you don't like and want to change, and those things that you most deeply desire and want to create. And that those two things work together to bring out your potential, to expand your vessels of consciousness, emotion, body, thought, speech, action, and everything in life. And that reveals progressively the deeper truth. So again, I'm going to go back into reading. What is the deeper truth? You will tell them about us. You will tell them that they're here to reveal, not to conceal, meaning suppress, not to fight against, not to struggle or hide. You hear this? Not to conceal, not to fight against, not to struggle, not to hide. How much of the time do we fight, struggle, hide, and try to conceal our supposed flaws? No. It's all, everything you've got going is part of your mission. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It really is. You just have to understand how it works. Tell them that their authentic self is already gorgeous. That what they desire for real, these are authentic desires, is already divine. That they are here to fill some gap that only they can fill. You are here to fill some gap. Why are you here? You want to know your purpose? You're here to fill some gap that only you can fill. Where does that gap show up? In your unconscious hatreds and fears. So what are you here for? Your unconscious hatreds and fears. How does that work? Those hatreds, unconscious hatreds and fears that we try to suppress, both mask and point to our deepest soul desires. So we're all here to fill some gap that only we can fill, that shows up in our unconscious hatreds and fears, which both mask and point to our deepest soul desires. People must know that everything is not solid, that everything is continuous and alive. And what takes form? How do things take form? The frequencies that we hold and the true desires that we reveal and lean into are the vessels through which our lives, our bodies, and our emotions take form. And that is how we co-create. So if you want to co-create miracles, you want to co-create a future that's different from the past, you need to understand what you're made of and what you're here for. That it's not about suppressing or submerging or concealing. It's not about fighting against. It's not about hiding. Adam and Eve hid in the Garden of Eden. It is about revealing. And what are you revealing? You're revealing that there's nothing here except for you, your purpose, and God. It's all about the relationship. It's only about the relationship. Everything else, the storm, the fury, the wants, the don't wants, we're eternal. And not only we're eternal in some heavenly sense, we're eternal in our bodies. Our bodies are temporarily in a state of planned obsolescence. But as we raise our dimensional awareness, as we raise the quality of our internal vessels and our external vessels, as we raise the frequency through which we live, we won't need death anymore, or challenges, of course, to connect on a deeper and deeper and deeper level. What are you connecting with? Yourself, your essential self, your purpose, everything that comes your way that is directly designed to come from above on behalf of your purpose, and most of all, your love affair with the Creator, with your source. I don't know whether it feels real or not to you, but I'm telling you that it is real. It is real. And when you can take the posture, what's freedom? So what's freedom? Freedom is not accomplishing everything on your wish list and then putting it on the wall and hoping that it's going to stay that way and never change. Yes, you should have everything on your wish list that's positive and not destructive. Yes, we all should, and we will. That's what redemption is about. But who are we going to be while we live that process? Who are we in the matter? Who are you in the matter? Are you trusted? Can you be trusted? Can you be trusted to look deeper? Can you be trusted to connect through every obstacle? Can you be, or at least to aim for that? Can you be trusted to be part of the co-creative project that's going on and has been since the beginning of creation? It's a building project. It's almost finished. We're almost ready to move in. They're just those little tweaks to make it the end. And it means awakening to who we truly are and what we're here for. And that is to create and to step into a relationship with our source. And from that relationship to create, from that relationship to live, from that relationship to respond, from that relationship to build. So not to see life and not to experience life as there's me and reality and my world, and then there's my spirituality and relationship with God, or even the opposite. There's this doesn't matter. It's just my spirituality, my relationship with God that matters. That's also not true. They both matter. They work together. Your life is custom created in the moment, in the nano instant, to bring out this deeper truth, this deeper connection, infinitely deeper, through your desires, through your, as I read you, through your, you're here to fill a gap that only you, of every person in the universe, can fill. And it is found in your deepest unconscious hatreds and fears. Hatreds are not just for people, it can be for life, it can be for anything. The opposite of acceptance, the opposite of connection, where we resist and push away. And likewise, the deepest desires. And the hatreds and fears and the deepest desires are two sides of the same coin. So what you can stand and what you most deeply long for, that's why you're here. And that's where you are uniquely created to fill that gap and to reveal God and the light of your own soul. And that is what freedom is all about. And that is the journey that the souls of Israel, the Jewish people, took in the desert, where they were led by the pillar of fire and the clouds of glory and ate the manna from heaven and could not make the mistake of thinking that the laws of nature were real. The laws of nature were totally suspended during that journey. Actually, the nation of Israel, the souls of Israel, the Jewish people, were very, very nervous about going into the promised land because they knew that it would be they would go back to a natural farming and the cycles, and those were suspended during the 40 years in the desert. And it was a miraculous, miraculous time where miracles weren't hidden. They weren't hidden behind the cycles. Now we have both. We have the cycles, we have the concealment, and yet so many of us are starting to feel something beyond, starting even to perceive something beyond, starting to be able to see that the laws of nature are not so rigid. They can be worked with, they can be malleable, and this is only going to increase. And it increases in the most pure, straight, and purposeful, intended way when you connect to God within the core of your own soul. God's not only out there. Of course, God is out there. He's everywhere. He's everything. It is everything. There's nothing else. But it's not only outside of you, it's inside of you as well. And how do you make that connection? And how do you bring everything that happens in your life and all of the emotions that come up as a consequence of that, and all of the dreams that you want to fulfill and have not yet fulfilled, how do you bring all of that into union? And that's the question. That's the journey to freedom. The journey to freedom is a journey to union, a passionate, loving, glorious, miraculous intimacy with your own inner being and with your divine source. When that happens, there's no problem between people because the essence of all of us is revealed, and that's beautiful and that's one. So I want to give everybody a blessing for whether you're Jewish and you'll be attending a Seder, 2 Seders, I hope, and eating matzah and not leaven, not chametz, drinking the 4 cups of wine, or whether you like to celebrate with us or whether you don't have anything to do with it. It's still the energy that is coming in today, that came in at the beginning of Nisan, that we prepared for in the month of Adar, the 2 months of Adar that will be coming in when Pesach, when Passover comes about, is quantum. It's the energy of freedom, the energy of miracles, the energy of divine union, the energy of utter transformation, revelation, manifestation, and we need to lean into it. So take advantage, everybody, and as we say, kosher and freilich and Pesach, Chag Sameach, you should have a wondrous, aligned, divine experience and bring it into your year. This year, as I started out by saying, it's the Lubavitcher Rebbe's 120th birthday. I'll just say this before I conclude. It's so interesting. Moses lived to 120. 120 in the Torah is considered like the ideal lifespan. At this time, the early souls lived for hundreds of years. Like Methuselah lived 900 years. Like there used to be a song like that. Methuselah lived 900 years. Actually, he lived more than 900 years. But Adam lived a little bit less than 1,000 years. And those souls lived a long time. And the lifespan was reduced because the world went awry. And I guess people, when they feel like you have forever, they don't think so spiritually. The ego can really take over. So lifespan was shortened, and the ideal lifespan remained 120 years. Most of us don't get to live that long, but that's this phase. However, we're moving out of this phase. So since it's the 120th birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who is the central soul of our time, who's a spark of whom is in each of our own beings, our core, and whose soul contains all of our souls like cells in a body. So not only is our mazel dominant throughout this month, but our potential is increased in incredible ways. And because 120 is the end of the ultimate natural cycle of growth and wisdom, we are now taking off into the supernatural. So fasten your seatbelts and put your hands on the steering wheel, because you don't want to just be a runaway car. And check out your internal map. Where is it that you desire to go? What is it that you're created for? Remember, that gap shows up in your unconscious and also conscious hatreds and fears, and in your deepest soul desires. What's been in the way? That's not your problem. That's your raw material for transformation. What do you have to add? What's your next edge? What are you going to do about it? And use this energy to go beyond your nature, and not just once. When you go beyond your nature into the miracle zone of your own being, there's a reciprocal response, and nature goes beyond its own limits for you. God goes beyond the limits of nature, and more of the essence is revealed. So we go beyond our nature. The minute you go beyond your nature, that becomes your new nature. So now you need to go beyond it again and beyond it again. And it doesn't have to be huge, because when you reach the limit of the edge of the cliff, maybe it's 1,000 steps to the edge of the cliff. When you take one step off into the unknown with intention and purpose, the intention of miracles. So now you're in the quantum. And as the cliff extends itself under your feet, because now the miraculous has become part of your nature, so now you need to take another leap off, and another leap off, or another step off, another step off. And this way we continue to expand the awakening of all of humanity, as well as our own selves, the revelation of that divine love that's been hidden from us. It has. The revelation of our own core souls, and how infinitely powerful they are when they reveal our essence, which is God. And that's where we are right now. So take advantage. I'll see you next time.